Hi there, and welcome to Canceling COVID. I'm Tanya Rivens with you every Tuesday, bringing you relevant information, real talk, real solutions, and resources as we work together to cancel this COVID. Hopefully, you're off to a great start today. I certainly am. Let everyone know that we are here live every Tuesday at 11 a.m. and take the time to share. Again, this conversation and many more. We've been doing this now for almost 2 years, and we're so grateful for our sponsor, Groundwater Solutions. That's groundwater-solutions.org, 704-596-0505. They also work with the Genesis Project. And again, a lot of stuff to talk about. If you know, I scheduled that to have a conversation with someone, an update on 988 suicide. I'll bring that to you in just a moment. Dr. Trasha Black, who always joins us, speaking of Groundwater Solutions, she's under the weather today. How often does that happen? She's here every week. So we want to say prayers to get well really soon. She even wanted to still come on and do the show. And I was like, Dr. Black, you got to take care of yourself. I mean, come on. I certainly appreciate the commitment and the loyalty, but you've got to take care of your health first. And so she is not going to join us today again, Dr. Trasha Black, but we're sending her well wishes and us praying for a speedy recovery. Weather-wise, waiting for some storms here in the area later on. We're counting down to the Aggie Eagle Classic happening this week. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. But one of the things that I also shared about talking today as a special guest, there is a special guest headed to the city on tomorrow. And it's a part of a town hall meeting and a dinner. And it speaks to the Nigerian community. So I have such good friends in this community. And so I invited one of them to join us this morning, and that's none other than Dr. Ben Okwara of First Care Medical Center. First of all, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. How are you? Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So, this is a conversation about COVID, and one of the conversations that people may be wondering, well, how does this fit in? Well, certainly we're Black Americans, but we're all African Americans first and foremost. And so the connection to the continent is very real. And you all have something special happening here tomorrow, which I want to touch on in just a few moments. But leading up to that, COVID in over in Africa looks like it didn't have as much of an impact there as it did here. Would you say that's a true statement?
That's true. Yeah.
Dr. Okwara, and probably not from speaking as a doctor, but in your opinion, why was it as not impactful? Could it be because of the diet, or would you say it's something else?
Without being specific, I just think because of the weather, because back home we tend to spend more time outside.
Okay.
I think if you spend more time outside, the impact of not being in a clustered environment is less. If you notice when COVID was going on here during the winter time,
right,
people are indoors, a lot of indoors, air-conditioned environment. So not having constant AC and a very hot environment may have been a plus for us. Most people that get it have been people that work in a closed environment.
So it's something about just a good fresh air being on the outside, which of course we're obviously limited at times. So as far as the economy there and the impact of COVID on the impact, clearly it didn't take as big of a hit there as it did here.
The economy is already bad. So when something's already bad, it's hard to measure the impact of the economy because of poor governance back home. So it's difficult. Nobody's even measuring the impact of the COVID there. So most people are there's high unemployment rate. So, if you're unemployed, you're unemployed before and after COVID. Yeah.
So it didn't change before versus after, huh?
It didn't change anything.
Yeah. Well, I've got Mr. Johnny, who's also joining us. He just hopped on. I'm going to add him to the conversation. Hey, Mr. Johnny, how are you this morning?
All right, good morning, Tanya. How are you?
I'm doing good. I need you to shift just a little. You're kind of off center with the camera. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. A little bit more. As you're making that adjustment,
okay, I got you.
There you go. Perfect. I want to shift now because we talked about the economy just a little bit. As far as COVID in the economy and how Africa and specifically Nigeria is seems to be making the adjustment. You all are hosting a conversation, a lecture tomorrow night at Little Rock Amy Zion Church, and you got a very special guest that's coming. Who's coming? Tell us a little bit more about that, and then I'll ask some more questions along those lines.
I'll let Johnny
Well,
start and I'll answer what it is. So,
Okay.
well, we're having Nigeria is going through crisis. The crisis at a level that is never seen before. It's a point of near collapse. That if we don't get it right done next in this coming election, there might not be a country.
Mm.
So it's very, very crucial that we do it right. The economy is in shambles. Unemployment is astronomically high. People, the hopelessness in the situation is immeasurable. It's just too much.
So even though, so Dr. Aquara, when we talked before he arrived, and Mr. Johnny, is it called Obika?
Obika, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Obika. So, Mr. Obika and Dr. Aquara, we were just talking about the economy, and the whole focus around this is the impact that COVID has had. And COVID didn't hit Nigeria as hard. Even for the continent, Africa had this really long streak of, as far as rates, the impact of COVID, the amount of cases, and so on and so forth. Just to bring up the speed of what we had talked about prior to you hopping on, it wasn't as impactful as it was here in the U.S. But Dr. Aquara, if I understood from you, the economy wasn't hit as badly, but according to Mr. Obika, and I guess what you're saying, however, it's still not in a good place. Is that correct?
Yeah, the economy is already bad. It's so bad. There's very high unemployment rates.
Okay.
Where we feel the impact here in America is everybody is unemployment rate is low with COVID. You can see the unemployment when most people are unemployed. The
Okay.
youth are unemployed. So when COVID hits, you can't even tell the difference. So
Okay.
when you're hungry, you're already hungry. You just make this. The death rate is high already. So
Okay.
it's hard to say which one. What is causing what? Is it COVID? Some people may have died from COVID, but on top of it, they were going to die from hunger, and accident, poor road, unemployment, depression already. So we can't. It's difficult to measure.
Okay.
Which one is the worst, so.
So thank you for clarifying that, because I just wanted to make sure. So even though COVID didn't impact the continent like it did over here in the U.S., the economy was already in a bad way, and it's just made it worse. So one of the things that you have a special guest coming tomorrow to talk to the fellow countrymen, Nigerians that no longer live there, on what they should do, or tell me what he's doing here on tomorrow night.
Okay. Our special guest, the presidential candidate of one of the three major parties, Mr. Peter Obi, is going to be in town. He's going to be talking about the role of Nigerians living in America, overseas, that's the diasporans, in the economic development of the country, what we can do to inject energy into the development and growth of the economy, because he's a guy that recognizes the importance of diasporans. And because in 2019, for example, the Nigerian diasporans living overseas remitted $24 billion into the country. That's a lot.
Say that again. Say that one more time.
In 1994, I'm sorry, 2019.
2019.
In the year 2019, according to World Bank report, Nigerian diasporans remitted $24 billion into Nigeria.
Wow.
That had a lot of positive impact on the economy. And with the COVID, I think I haven't had another study. I used to study this, but I haven't had the numbers since 2021, 2020 and 2021. But anyway, the reason I'm pointing to that is because this man running for office recognizes the significance of such remittance to economic development of the country. So that is why he's coming here to speak on that topic.
Okay.
Kind of exactly bring it down to everybody. Listen, please do what you're doing think of taking whatever, it could be financial remittance, it could be technical knowledge. Some of them, like medical doctors and technicians, engineers, they can visit there and advise their colleagues in Nigeria. Some can contribute in the form of charity, like used books and computers you can take over there so students can use. There are so many ways that diasporans can help in the economic
let me
development.
jump in. We never even said his name. It's Mr. Peter Obi, correct?
Yeah, Peter Obi, OBI.
And I was looking at his resume. It's quite impressive. He served quite a bit in a lot of different positions of leadership and even with the government. Quite impressive. This gentleman that's speaking tomorrow night. So it starts at 5 p.m. Little Rock, Amy Zion Church. And again, to speak to Nigerians who no longer live there on their responsibility and how they can be involved in economic development in Nigeria as it's dealing with somewhat of a very unstable economy, which a lot of, obviously, we're having our problems here as well. Now, is this only for Nigerians or can other people get involved?
This actually for everybody. I think if I may add, the reason why he's extremely popular is because of over the past years, the people that have run the economy in Nigeria or been in government, they are very corrupt, to put it simply.
Okay.
They have programs for youths. It's not done. As we speak, all the schools in Nigeria have been closed since February of this year. It's not acceptable.
All the schools?
All the schools are closed. There's high rate of insecurity, high rate of terrorism. Everybody's affected, whether you're for the rich and the poor, is affected now. Okay. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, you have almost more than 70% of all Nigerians all over the world, they're involved with this movement. For me, I will not call it more of a I see it more as a movement. It's just like when Martin Luther King got involved in the US here, or Booker T. Washington, we just need to free the country. And all of us came here as students, and we cannot go back anymore. The goal was to come here, study, and go back. Every year it's getting worse. So for the first time, we have somebody that can articulate the problem that is facing us, and we feel comfortable dealing with him. He's been traveling all over the world, and if he can sacrifice to travel the world for the benefit of Nigeria, that's why just like here in Charlotte, he was in Canada. He was in LA. He's in Houston today. He's traveling all over, sacrificing. Everybody's sacrificing to get Nigeria to a better place, because the option that we have is not acceptable. It's not acceptable.
So and to jump in, the Brookings Institute pretty much kind of did this story, as I can just kind of reference back in June, not too long ago, and talked about the human capital crisis that's happening in Nigeria. Of course, if you're not looking at international news, you're not going to hear a whole lot about this, but it talks about the direct health effects of COVID, that it threatened, the population. The first case was back in February of 2020, and they're saying that the recorded cases have generally remained lower than here, Europe, and Asia for pretty much most of the world, but yet still these problems on the health side and on the economic side is, really challenging the country, as you all have mentioned, and you're supporting this gentleman, or showing that him coming to provide this lecture is a great way of just communicating and letting people know how not just Nigerians, but others can get involved in supporting the country. So what are some of the ways, Mr. Obika, you started listing some of them as someone who is not a native there? You mentioned, I think you said the medical profession and other professions, but for someone just like me that would want to get involved or see what we could do to help with Nigerians, what are some other ways?
Okay, very good question. There are so many ways. It's not just targeting Nigerians, it's also targeting foreign investors.
Okay.
Anybody with investment money can come into Nigeria under his watch, and he's trying to reassure them, because it's all about confidence. To reassure them, like, look, me, P2B, I will make sure you invest in a fertile, Nigeria. Namely and specifically, I mentioned the medical They'll talk about the finance. There are so many ways you can help diasporans because Nigeria is full of talent, educated population. Go to school, come out, there are no jobs. And meanwhile, there are so many foreign countries and foreign industries that can utilize these talents. Whether it's in the sports area, there's so many Nigerians playing football, basketball in America, playing professional soccer in Europe. You can create an industry and you can create, a department, a commission, or a ministry to export those talents. Okay, they can export those talents in the area of sports so that the ministry can specifically process the visas for these kids to go overseas. They play soccer and all kinds of sports and repatriate the currency back to Nigeria. And then you can get people, experts in the area of technology, IT, for example. They can go over there and help these kids in school, coach them periodically, maybe once a year, one semester, and then coach them in the area of new technologies. And then they can liaison with because the talent is there.
Understood.
The opportunity is not. So these people that can help them, and then at the end of that, they can come overseas and work in, work relationship, so they can copy what they see in America and develop in Nigeria the similar industries. And then you can have charity, non-profit organizations that have a lot of. America is a surplus society. The West, a very surplus society. There's so much.
Dr.
People throwing away.
Let me jump in, Mr. Obika, because I want to also ask, because Dr. Aquara stepped on or kind of touched on schools being closed since February, and the Brookings Institute also spoke around the population that didn't have access to, if they were already poor and didn't have access to the vaccines or the health care. It just means that things went from bad to worse to them. How did Nigeria get to this point, though? Because at one point, not too long ago, was it not one of the richest in the continent?
I think even with all the bad management in Nigeria, Nigeria is still one of the richest country in the continent because of our population. The population of Nigeria is 200 million.
Okay.
You can imagine an economy without infrastructure. In Nigeria today, we don't have constant running water. We don't have any healthcare system. We don't have constant electricity. We don't have good roads. And still we're in the top 2 in the continent. Just imagine what will happen to Nigeria if we have the infrastructure. I believe if we have the infrastructure, Nigeria can be in the top 10 richest country in the world, not just in the continent. We have the talent base. We have the youth population. The population is about 70% youth. So we have a strong workforce, uneducated. Most of us left Nigeria to get better education here because of what was going on. I think what is going on in Nigeria just get from bad to worst. It's always been there. It's always been there, as far as I can remember. We keep hoping that things will get better. It never got better. And while we get involved, we're hoping that people back home will fix it. But now we want to stop talking about it.
Okay.
Solving that problem today.
So Mr. Obika is back. I don't know what's going on with his camera.
Yeah. Somebody called me on the other line, and then I had to.
Okay. Well, you mentioned, as we start to wrap things up, you mentioned something about the talent there. I would certainly mention that we've seen a real big surge on the music scene. You have quite a few Nigerians that are really making some noise in this country, charting on the music scene, a part of collaborations. And so we know the talent is there, and that's one area that is growing. You mentioned some of the other areas. As we start to wrap things up, is there anything else you all would like to share? Again, we know there's a town hall meeting with Mr. Peter Obi and a dinner. It's happening on tomorrow night, Little Rock Amy Zion Church, 401 North McDowell Street, 5 p.m. And the town hall meeting is free, but there's a charge for the dinner. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And either one of you guys can give out your information for people to get in touch. It's unfortunate, Dr. Aquara, you that sits in the medical profession, to watch how COVID continues to impact our daily lives, and to take an economy that was already in a situation that was unstable, and then to get hit with COVID, we shut down, and who knows when we're going to be able to recover from that. And you're saying, Nigeria, things went from bad to worse, which is really very unfortunate as well, even though the amount of COVID cases were nowhere close to the amount as far as the impact that we had here in this country.
Yeah. Well, I think for us Nigerians here, if it wasn't for African American brothers and sisters here, none of us would be here. Where without the support and relationship we develop with our African American brothers and sisters, none of us that's supposed to be here. I can say you guys you just came before us, and we need to look for ways to work together, and that's what this presidential candidate want to do, is how we can integrate things. We want you to be able to visit Nigeria without worrying about your security. We want to have more relationship with you. I think it's going to benefit mankind or everybody in Africa. I think if we work together, I think it's very important that almost all of us have relationship with Africa, other people from other African countries, and mainly for African American brothers, both in South America, all over the world. We need to look for ways to integrate and work together for common benefit for all.
And I appreciate you saying that. Again, Dr. Benedict Okwara, First Care Medical Center with locations all around the city and surrounding areas. I call it your one-stop shop because you can get all your services, including lab testing. And I'll let you tell more, Dr. Okwara, but you've been with us for quite some time and a part of the community and always giving back as well. And as you were speaking, I was thinking about, we're wrapping up Black Business Month and talking about opportunities. Business owners, as you're listening in, think outside of the U.S., think more international, think about building these relationships. And I can't tell you, if I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times since we've come out of COVID. We've got to work together more. Who's going to take care of us but us? So we've got to start seeking more opportunities and just being intentional about it. So Dr. Okwara, real quick PSA about First Care Medical and what you offer. And then Mr. Obika, I'll let you do the close out as well.
Okay. I think First Care Medical Clinic is what I'll call the equivalent of Sam's Club or Walmart, of if you want to call it that way, because in our practice, we provide everything in-house. So you don't have to go to multiple places. We take care of patients from crib to the grave, so from 0 to 90 years old. Our primary goal is we do more of preventive care, solve problem before it becomes a problem. And we have 2 locations in Charlotte, Monroe, Gastonia, Rock Hill, Albemarle, and Locust. And we just, most of our patient population, our goal is to prevent them from getting sick. That's preventive care. That's our motto.
Thank you so much. Again, Dr. Okwara. And Mr. Obika, I apologize not knowing your profession, but just kind of talk more about the importance of people getting involved and anything else you would like to leave us.
Yes, what I was going to say, also in addition, you mentioned sports. In addition to that, Nigeria is endowed with a lot of movie talents. They have developed a similar movie industry like Hollywood. They call it the Nollywood.
Okay. So
exactly, I call it the Nollywood. There's so many of them. The P2B would like to see a way to exporting those talents. Do you understand? Export those movies and the talents, and also we're encouraging American investors to look outside Nigeria, which is the largest market in Africa. It's got the biggest market. It's got the biggest potential. Labor is there. That's compatible or even exceeds that of India. But it needs leadership to harness those talents. So those are the areas encouraging American investors who have money to look towards. Nigeria speaks English. Language is never going to be a barrier. Former British colonies, so English is widely spoken by the educated population, and very hardworking group of people.
So again, tomorrow night, people are invited, a town hall meeting and dinner. The town hall meeting, there is no charge. It starts at 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. Is the dinner first or the meeting? Which is first?
No, dinner is from 5 to 7.
Okay. So the meeting
that has limited space, it's filling up fast. We have only 175 space, and from John is filling up fast. If anybody want to register, it's a good time to register. Then the town hall meeting start from 7 to 10.
Okay. And Johnny, how do people get in touch with you?
704 609 7776.
So 704-609-7776 if you're interested in attending. The dinner is from 5 until 7. There's a charge for that. And then the town hall meeting is free. It's from 7 until 10. So
Yes.
And the guests will take questions after the lecture.
Okay. Okay. I really hope people will share this conversation and pass it along, because I think it's very important, again, as we work together and also to get the word out. So again, thank you, Dr. Ben Okwara and Mr. Johnny Obika, for taking the time to join us. Hopefully I'm not misidentifying you. I know there's a large network of Nigerian doctors. Are you a doctor, Mr. Obika?
No, I'm not.
It's a big time businessman.
I just have a master's degree in finance.
Yeah, you say just have, like it's no big deal.
No, Johnny's a businessman.
Yeah. You gotta love that humble spirit, though. I appreciate that. And I love the laughter. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk with me. And
Thank you so much,
to get the word out. And enjoy the rest of your day. And again, your phone number one more time, Mr. Obika. I know you said 704-609.
609 7776.
That's very easy to remember.
There you go. 7776.
Yeah, area code 74. All right. Thank you guys so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Tanya.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Tanya. I appreciate that, Tanya.
Absolutely. So great stuff again, folks, as we always have a conversation that we feel like is relevant and resourceful that applies to our community. Grateful for Mr. Obika and, of course, Dr. Okwara for stopping by and sharing that information. Because originally when I was approached with this, I'm saying, okay, how does this really fit in, or what are we talking about? But we're talking about our brothers and sisters in Nigeria. I had no idea their economy was in the shape that it was in. So I'm glad we went back and had a great conversation, a way to clarify what's actually happening there. And even though, because all numbers show that in Nigeria, they've been able to maintain a fairly low rate of COVID, but the impact has been devastating regardless of that. Now, we heard about the challenge of the African countries getting access to the COVID vaccine, and some of the poor countries, although the U.S., we had plenty of supply and people here didn't want to take them. And then to find out that even over in Nigeria, even though there wasn't as much of a demand, that they were already in a bad situation with the economy. So an opportunity for you not only to ask questions, Mr. Peter Obi, about COVID, but also an opportunity to find out how you can get involved as far as economic development. So the conversation is tomorrow night. 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. is the dinner, and at 7 p.m. A lecture, a town hall meeting, as well as a Q&A session. Mr. Peter Obi, someone who is also a candidate for president, but this is not a fundraiser for him, but certainly an opportunity for you to find out more ways of where he stands and how you can get involved. As we start to wrap things up, I'm glad that I have that conversation with them. I also want to remind you that coming up next month is National Suicide Prevention Month. And of course, my good friend, Miss Fonda Bryant, always keeping me informed and keeping me up to date. Coming up real soon, and I was trying to find the date here and hadn't been able to locate it. The PBS has a documentary that's coming on, and it's about suicide prevention. And Fonda, who else? She's a part of this suicide prevention documentary. We are very proud of her. And I want her to know that regardless, she's working with the school system, so it's a little bit tough for her to, to hop on and hop off like she was able to do before. But she's a part of the documentary, and they're having a screening. And I was trying to find when it is, because I really wanted to share that with you as well. The screening on that PBS went on, it's called Facing Suicide, and it's happening on tomorrow at 7 p.m. as well. The screening of Facing Suicide that she's a part of is happening tomorrow at 7 p.m. on PBS. But that's, and obviously with National Suicide Prevention Month happening in September, you'll have an opportunity to check it out, and keep your eyes out for our very own Fonda Bryant, who's a part of that as well. Well, I will see you on this Saturday. That's correct. Tune in, please tune in starting at 10 a.m. on Praise 100.9. Also, the Aggie Eagle Classic on the countdown. So much happening this weekend. We're headed into a holiday weekend, so we'll have a lot of visitors in town and a great opportunity just for food, fellowship, and fun. Make sure you do it in a very safe way. And I also have to say, check out my I haven't posted it yet, but on Saturday, Tucker's Grove Camp Meeting. Such a tradition that's been around for so many years. I was there, went back this past weekend, and my husband went for the very first time. And for people who experience it for the first time, they're kind of speechless and really surprised. He even said he felt like, he was able to um, kind of like a time warp, step back to where our forefathers were, what they experienced when they were slaves, where they lived, how they came in and had to enjoy themselves versus the contrast to all the access that we have today. Real deep stuff, and I'm going to share that. But again, anyone from this area, especially from North Mecklenburg and Lincoln County, know all about Tucker's Grove Camp Meeting. As always, life's challenges make you better, not bitter. I'm Tanya Rivens again. I'll see you on this Saturday, 10 a.m. Sounds of Inspiration, Praise 100.9. And hopefully I'll see you out and about at some of the Aggie Eagle activities. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's canceling COVID. Got to make sure I acknowledge our supporters, though, as always, Groundwater Solutions, groundwater-solutions.org, 704-596-0505. And Dr. Trasha Black, hey, get well soon. Hopefully, you'll be back with us again next week. Have a great day, everyone. And thank you again for tuning in to Canceling COVID. Real talk, real resources. And of course, we feel like together as we work towards canceling COVID. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.